Well, there's so much written about it in both the scriptures and in secular writings. It's the subject of songs and poems and so many things. And that subject is love. When Yeshua was asked what was the greatest of the commandments, what did he say? Love God. Yeah. And then he said that the second was really, really similar to it. And it was what? Okay, to love people, to love those around us. It's interesting, isn't it? Like, so that the next question after that was, who's my neighbor? Because I want to know who my neighbor is so I can exclude everybody else, right? Because if I know who I have to love, then I know who I don't have to love. And then Yeshua goes on to basically explain, it's the people that you don't like very much. It's the people who don't like you. It's the people who you really don't want to like. And then there's the people that you probably should like, like us, like our family members, like people that actually live next door to us, maybe. If you would turn over to the book of Deuteronomy, please, to the Holy Torah. Deuteronomy chapter 6. It goes all the way back to the very beginning. It's really in a couple places, but this is kind of where we'll read from today. Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 1. He says, "Now this is the commandment, and these are the statutes and judgment which the Lord your God has commanded to teach you, that you may observe them in the land which you are crossing over to possess." So he's like preparing Israel to say, when you go into the land, this is how you're going to live. Now, they were living in a very different time than we are now. God sent them into a place. He gave them commandments to love God and love people. And then he sent them into the land of Canaan to do what? To annihilate. To what? To annihilate. To annihilate, okay. And so a lot of people will go, what? But I thought God just said to love, right? That was a different time. And there needed to be a purifying of that time. So how can you and I look at this passage that we're about to read, which we've already verbally said, about loving God and loving people, and then he commanded them to go into the land? How can you and I take that and then apply it to our own lives now? What do we do with that, those commandments? And then the command to go into the land.
Well, the land is us.
Okay.
We are to annihilate, to purify ourselves of the flesh and desires, to possess the land for God.
Yeah, well said. So did God miraculously go into the land and just make it all hunky-dory? I mean, he said milk and honey. Was it all milk and honey?
Nope.
Or did they have to fight for that milk and honey? Huh? He gave them the commandments, and then he gave them the means to do. And how would they be successful to accomplish what God asked them to do? What would they do to be successful?
They have to listen.
They have to listen, they'd have to act. And that encompasses something else, which is what? Action, obedience. Yeah, they had to. God would say, if you do this, this is what's going to happen, which is victory. So let's go ahead and read the words. He says, that you may, this is verse 2, that you may fear the Lord your God and to keep all of his statutes and commandments which I command to you and your son and your grandson and all the days of your life, that your days may be prolonged. Therefore, Shema, hear, O Israel, and be careful to observe it, that it may be well with you, that you may multiply greatly as the Lord your God of your fathers has promised you, a land flowing with milk and honey. Shema, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, and with all of your strength. For these are the words which I command to you. It shall be in your heart. And so he gives them this command. And so we apply that command, obviously, to loving God, which is its own challenge, and then loving people, which is extremely challenging because they're there every day. We're there every day. But as Bill mentioned, the land he tells you and I to go into and conquer it is our hearts. It's this space here. Well, what are the Canaanites that live in our hearts? Lust, jealousy, hatred. All of those things are represented by the peoples that lived in Canaan at that time. The Amorites and the Amalekites and the Jebusites and all the sites that were hanging out there. Those were, right? Those were a type of the passions that live in the hearts of all human beings. So God, in his infinite mercy, didn't snap his fingers and make the land suddenly become unsighted. He says, go and take the land. Obey what I tell you, and I'll give you victory. And that's the same command that you and I should be hearing in our ears every day. Go into this land and make it God's holy land.
It is absolutely almost identical to what Mark says when Yeshua was questioned. His account when Yeshua was asked what the greatest commandment was. He said, Shema Yisrael, and that hear and obey. I mean, that's that word, hear
Right.
and obey. Don't just hear it, but do it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the apostles of James, I believe, says, or Yaakov, as we like to say, he says, don't just be hearers, but also doers. Don't just be those who have big heads full of knowledge. Use the knowledge, the sacred knowledge, and do it. To be ma'aseh Torah, to be doers of the Torah. And we're not talking about the 5 books of Moses. When we say Torah, we're talking about the teachings of God, which are clarified and focused in Messiah Yeshua, and then amplified and transmitted by the apostles. To be those that take the teachings of God and use them and do them. Because this land ain't going to conquer itself. If anything, it's going to be overrun with brambles and thorns and is it holly that looks so, that has little red berries that look so yummy, but don't eat them.
Right.
I know. I had to keep that one particularly from eating berries around the house. Now he doesn't like any berries at all, so that's okay. But no, we have to be people that don't just hear but do. And it's a challenge. If it wasn't challenging, it'd be boring, right? That's what I said about my week, this past week. If everything went smoothly and was just awesome, I mean, how boring would that be?
I could use some boredom right.
That's okay. We need boredom. Yeah. I mean, we need the boring weeks. I was telling Mike earlier, it was like after his and Elaine's 6 months of doing this project, and they're ready for some boredom. They're ready for a little bit of breathing room. And then we all need that, absolutely. And so, love is not, as the song goes, a feeling. Hooked on a feeling, right? Boy, does that feeling go away quickly. No, love is deeper than that. If we go by emotion, our emotions rise and fall quickly. As easy as closing a door and opening a door. No, love is something deeper than a feeling. What is love?
What's a commandment?
Okay, love is a commandment. Yeah. What is love?
An action.
An action. What else?
By the definition.
What's that?
By its definition in Scripture.
Okay, which is what?
Patience.
Patience. Okay. Love is a person. Love is an entity. Love is God. And from God, we learn love in its truest sense. God is not a sentimental person who gets misty-eyed whenever something nice happens. He gets, in his way as possible for the divine, which we then find expressed in our terms, in human emotions, in Yeshua himself, who wept, who laughed, who hurt for all those that were suffering. He gave us the means to be able to experience the heartbreak of God, as we saw Yeshua, his broken heart for his people. And then now he weeps over the nations, over all who do not know him, who continue to reject him. Love is a person. And so we learn love by becoming love. And what does that mean? Say it louder.
To be like him.
Okay, to be like him. How else? How can we become love?
The more time we spend in his presence, the more we begin to understand what love is, what he did is sacrifice for us, and what he wants us to do is sacrifice for others.
Okay?
By imitation.
By communication?
Imitation.
Imitation, yes.
Too, but by
Yeah.
imitation.
Yeah, imitation of God. So what does that mean? How do we imitate God?
We read
Okay.
and we see what he has said and what we've learned about him in his word, and we try to be like that.
Okay?
Because it like flows out of us.
Okay.
If it's true.
Yeah. And that's an important point that Sharon just made is we try. We try, and maybe we keep trying, but some things we just learn naturally by walking in his ways and observing, and other things we have to keep trying. I realized at some later point of my life that I walk just like my father does, like my human father. You've all met him. I watched him walk, and then I watched myself walk, I do that a whole lot, in a mirror, and I realized I walk just like my father does. Some of that's genetic. But some of it is just observing, not even paying attention, walking, listening, watching him walk. And I do the same thing. My children, hopefully my boys, maybe not my daughter, will walk like me. Because they're imitating me, and some of it's not completely unconscious. It's just being around me all the time. And likewise, if we are around our Father, Messiah, and we read his words and the words of the fathers, we begin to be transformed from something that's wounded into something that's becoming whole. And that's the purpose of our lives as believers, is becoming whole. To become whole means that we no longer battle against the same things in the same way. Maybe we have something that we battle with our entire lives, but other things, they become less important or less, they don't drag us down as heavily. In his mercy, he leaves us with something to struggle against, right? Because if we didn't have to struggle, what would happen to us?
Places.
What's that?
Places.
We'd be complacent. What else?
Prideful.
We'd be prideful, looking around going, why are you worried about that so much? It's not that big of a deal. And then God says, okay, here, I'm going to give you perhaps a similar challenge that you just looked down on this person and said, it's not that big of a deal. So that we can learn what? Humility. And why? Is it because God likes going zap? No. He loves us and he wants us to become like him. God doesn't zap anybody. He disciplines. Because love without discipline is what? It's hatred. Wearing a mask of pious hypocrisy. To not love without discipline. He says, if I don't discipline you, you are not what? My children. He says, so if we experience his discipline, it's because he loves us. Baruch Hashem. You should be glad. I should be glad. Hurts sometimes, right? Whenever we heard or have said, it's going to hurt me more than you. I remember saying, I don't know how it can. Until I had children, and it is hard. But they know that I love them because I give them the guardrails, the lines to walk in the ways, initially of our family, and then hopefully of God, so that they can have a perception of what is important in life. Abba Maximus says, but I say to you, the Lord says, love your enemies, and do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who persecute you. Why did he command these things? So that he might free you from hatred, sadness, anger, grudges, and might grant you the greatest possession of all, perfect love, which is impossible to possess, except by the one who loves all equally in imitation of God. God is love. He doesn't not love some people. He loves everyone, even us. He doesn't look at people that are sinning out in the world and go, yeah, I don't love them very much. No, he loves all equally. Now, he's pleased with those that what? Obey and imitate him, who are becoming like him. What was that? Who are following him. That's right, Gabriel. He's pleased. I mean, we love children regardless of their mistakes. But we're pleased with them at times, and sometimes more than others. And so he gives us these experiences so that we can look at and understand why and how he does things a little bit more each day. The soul copies life that is above and is conformed to the peculiar features of the divine nature. None of its habits are to lift it except that of love, which clings by the natural affinity to the beautiful. For this is what love is, the inherent affection towards a chosen object. When that the soul, having become simple and single in form, and so perfectly godlike, finds that the perfectly simple and immaterial good, which is really worth enthusiasm and love, it attaches itself to it and blends with it by means of the movement and activity of love, fashioning itself according to that which it is, continually finding and grasping. It means that what we love, we will become. We seek to be in the presence of the beautiful one. We sang it in a couple different songs, I think, today, where he is called the beloved. He is called the beautiful one. Because he is the perfection of our human nature. And he's God.
To enter God's presence requires us to be professional. He loves us enough to not let us come into his presence, because if we're not perfected until at that point, we'll be destroyed, consumed. And we can't be. So he's patient enough and perfecting us, maturing us to the point that we can stand in his presence.
Yeah.
And it only comes by obedience.
Yeah. So it is a reality. So we could say, what is love in this context of how do we love more? What is it that we can do to love more? Okay, keep seeking God, don't stop.
Draw closer to God.
Okay, to draw closer.
Realizing that those around us are just as broken, maybe less broken than we are.
Yeah. Yeah. You see, he's called us to be righteous, but not self-righteous. He's called us to be holy, but not holier than thou. He calls us to be humble, to imitate him. He is humble and he is merciful. And he says to you and to me, become like this. We draw closer to that which we want to become. We invest time in his presence to become like him. I mean, there's no Netflix in heaven. I watch Netflix, but there's no Netflix in heaven. There's the stuff that often drags us away from opportunities to spend time. We have to realize what we're hungry for. It's like shifting your diet from craving junk food, which is really hard, to craving good things, healthy things that build you up and make you stronger. Man, I love Doritos. I'll just say that publicly. But they don't love me. And you know what? Who was it that said that? Crunch all you want, we'll make more. Yeah, they'll make you more. And they'll keep giving it to you as long as you buy it. But you know what? At some point, we have to say, this isn't making me any healthier. If anything, it's making me unhealthy. So we have to choose to avoid that which is unhealthy for us, which feeds our passions, whatever that is for us.
I hear what you're saying. I guess right now I'm struggling with the prior prayer request. So as I try to find the far as the things you do and say. Because when dealing with this nastiness and seeking God, it's just more of Satan coming to me going,
Yeah.
so it's making my walk harder.
Yes.
And is that what it's supposed to be doing?
Yes, and it is for a purpose. When we are surrounded by enemies and we feel pressured in and people attack us, what should we do at that time? Pray? Okay.
Well, we're supposed to love them.
Yes.
Turn the other cheek, okay?
It's larger than just that. Just larger than just the action. We're not necessarily called to be a punching bag. But here's what we do, or we could, or maybe ought to do, is when we find ourselves in those places, among those people, we simply smile at them. If we're able to walk away, we try to walk away. If they're around us and they're being negative, and I think we all have people or situations where there's negative people around us, we retreat to the prayer. God have mercy on me, a sinner. If we're able to say it out loud, Baruch Hashem, if you're able to go into a place that's private, maybe your car, maybe you have a private office or space. God have mercy on me, a sinner. Why am I saying, God, I'm a sinner, and have mercy on me when this person's attacking me? Why would I do that? What's the rationale behind that?
To keep me out of my flesh
Yes.
and doing what the knee-jerk reaction is.
Yes.
But I notice the more I go with God and try to humble myself, the more Satan comes in
Yes.
and says, you're being a
Yeah.
jerk.
Yeah.
You're being an idiot. And where's God? And you're in this alone. And look how much garbage you're cutting up. And it seems like the more I see God, it should be easier. But it's not.
Let's put it this way. When you go in the Army, what's boot camp like?
It's fun. It's great. You should go.
I'm on it, man. If they take me as I am, I'd be right there.
Just once. Only once.
Okay. Boot camp is, John?
There was a situation when I was at work back in the early 80s, 81, 82. I had just become a Christian, probably about 2 years ago. And I was reading the Bible like, I didn't have enough time to read it. It was just like a baby when it first was. I had a boss that was he was really tough to get along. But when I had to be a trained color, I told him that I had just become a Christian, that God video, the town on my head, and threw it into the sea, that it is the damn child.
Nice.
And I said,
Nice.
you didn't train,
Sure.
but you lost your job like you were.
And I relate a lot to what Dory's saying, so I know it to be this. If it bothers me, it's obviously because there's still a lot of the wrong thing in me that God is trying to boil up the top. You don't make the most precious of gold in a cold bath. You use a hot fire and you heat it and you heat it and you heat it until it's purified. And that is who those people are. They are the refining fire. They're the hand of God, literally blessing us to remind us you're not where you think you are. You need to continue to move forward, get closer to me, get closer to me. The closer you get, the hotter the fire is. The hotter the fire, the less of this world there is. And the more we're purified, and the closer we get.
When I find myself in challenging situations among people, maybe I'm having a problem with an employee, as I did this week. They're there for my good. They may insult me. If that bothers me, I know that there's something in me that is still wounded. And so I try to, as much as I can, if I'm able to, wherever I am, in my back of my office, or I'm able to go to my car for a moment, for a time, and repeat the prayer. God have mercy on me, a sinner. God have mercy on me, a sinner. I'm reminding myself, but I'm also opening my heart to receive God's mercy and to begin to feel compassion for them because they're sick. We're sick. But we, in this place and time, are opening our hearts to be able to receive His mercy. And when we can begin to, and I know that you have felt compassion for one or all these people before, it's like this, we become different. They don't change. Maybe they do, but probably not. But we become different people because we understand that they are sick and they're broken. And we begin to look at it's. I'm going to send you a story with the praise and prayer when I send it out of a story that was true. It's a true story that took place just after World War II. And if you read it, you may even see yourself in there somewhere, like I did. People are broken. They're attacked by passions. There's such huge bondages on them. There's addictions. There's guilt within them that's consuming them. And they don't know how to deal with it. They don't have any. They're not attached to the divine physician who is purifying and cutting that which is unhealthy out, removing dead things from us. They don't have that. And so sometimes he uses people in their insensitivity and their brokenness to cause us to draw closer to God and keep drawing closer to God. And then as we draw closer to God, what happens to us? We change. And what happens when we change? We become healed and we become like that which we have drawn close to. As we draw closer to the holy fire, it burns away our earthliness, and it heals our woundedness. We've said it before. Fire fire either kills or destroys, but it never leaves what it touches unchanged. To be in the presence of God, something's going to happen. We may go, oh, Baruch Hashem, thank you for your mercy in burning away this unholiness. Or we may go, ooh, I'm not willing to change. I'm not willing to be different. And we draw away from God. And we're attacked once again by the passions and the wounds whichever afflict us. As the memory of fire does not warm the body, so faith without love does not bring about the illumination of knowledge in the soul. Which means if we don't draw close to God, we will not change. We will not be transformed. We can't measure our level of transformation. If we try, we're going to be disappointed. We can't measure somebody else's transformation. That's not up to us. That's God's job. But love is transformation. However slow or however fast it happens, and in His mercy, He generally allows us to do it slowly. Whenever we are pressed, whatever it is, if you have a trial, if you have a situation that needs to be dealt with and you're not sure how to deal with it or how it's going to turn out, God have mercy on me, a sinner. God have mercy on me, a sinner. Even bodily. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Because now we're focused upon Him. We're focused upon the Holy One, the Beautiful One, and we're in the process of drawing closer to Him. Because where is our focus? It's not on this person, it's not on this situation, it's not necessarily on the need, whatever that is. It's focused upon God. And we're focused upon Him, and He's moving and changing things within us because we are humbly coming before Him. Doesn't snap His fingers, doesn't all go away immediately. But this is the action which takes time.
I really like this perspective because in the past I've been taught, well, pray for that person, pray for good things for that person, and I was focusing on that person, and it was able to roll off my back easier, and then other things would come up and start over again. But to see, and it did change my heart, but I like that we need to look within us. And like you said, have mercy on me, Lord,
Right.
to change, to be more like you.
Because we're calling upon God for His mercy, and He gives it to us. He does and will. And then what's the second part of that commandment? He said, go and do likewise. And you know what? We stumble, and we're going to make mistakes, and you know what? We're going to tell somebody at various times what we really think about them. And then what should we do? If possible, apologize to the person. Even if they were at fault. And then repent before God. Have mercy on me, a sinner. It's a process. It doesn't come overnight. We didn't get to where we are overnight. We took, anywhere from 12 to however old you are, years to get the way we are.
Many fathers speak about the lesson of mercy to remember the day of our death.
Yeah.
Because we stand before him in an account. And this life is over. And we so desperately need his mercy. And it helps us to be merciful and realize all the mercy that he shows us, especially looking forward to the day when we stand in his presence.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Another thing he tells us to is to forgive one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, has forgiven you. And that's another way in which we can reflect the love of God by forgiving.
Yes. We imitate him, and he is merciful and he's compassionate. And so he's teaching us through these situations to become like him. And it's hard because as men, we're broken. We bear the burdens of our past. We have woundedness. We have even the secret things within us that we're not even aware of. And God wants us to be, again, slowly being purified through this. Messiah said, I came not to send peace, but a sword and division. Messiah summoned us to war on the plane of the Spirit, and our weapon is the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. Our battle is waged in extraordinary, unequal conditions. We are tied hand and foot, and we dare not strike with fire or sword, for our sole armament is love, even for enemies. This unique war in which we are engaged is indeed a holy war. We wrestle with the last and only enemy of mankind, death. Our fight is the fight to make known his resurrection. And it's just reality. It's a war. War is hell, I think was what General Patton said. And those of you who have been in an actual war, in the physical, can attest to that. But the spiritual war is even more messy because we can't even see a lot of the stuff that's happening, which is sometimes probably a blessing. But it is a war. It's a battle. A war is not fun. It is not enjoyable. It's necessary sometimes. And in our case, it's absolutely necessary because that's how we bear out the victory. When the children of Israel went into the land of Canaan and made it into the land of Israel, it was messy. And they fought back, and they used deception. And what was some of the deception that the Canaanites used?
They pretended to be from a far country and had both wineskin and moldy bread, and so they made an alliance with Israel when Israel was commanded not to make an alliance with the people of the land.
Yeah.
So they were deceived into making this alliance with the people of Canaan.
Okay. And there was as Mike's referencing a portion that says that this particular tribe or group knew they were about to be wiped out, and they appealed to Israel's mercy. But they lied. They used deception. The enemy will use deception to stay here in our hearts. And it's about you could say undoing the deception, peeling away the onion skin, getting down to the heart of the matter. So it's a process. It's a slow way of becoming something that we aspire to become. God is long-suffering and merciful to us. This you experience many times every day. Be long-suffering and merciful to your brothers, also fulfilling the words of the apostle who thus speaks of love before everything. Love suffers long and is kind. You desire that the Lord should rejoice you by his love. Rejoice on your part the hearts of others by your tender love and kindness. It's not about being sentimental and feeling sorry for people. Some people you have to withdraw from, if at all possible, simply because they are broken. You can't fix them. It's not your or my job to fix them. It's our job to fix us with God's grace. So we have to use wisdom. You see, sometimes being kind to somebody is like the hot coals on people. I think Roy was telling me about a time where he apologized to somebody and they kept getting angrier and angrier. Well, what is that? I think this was a parking lot of a. You just said I'm calling you out here with one of your stories, but it was good how you handled it because you were apologetic. And sometimes when we are kind to people back or we ask them for their forgiveness, they don't want to give it. It's their problem. It's their issue. If we have followed the words of the commandments of saying, please forgive me, maybe we weren't wrong, even in our own minds, maybe. But we simply apologize. Again, reaching towards a holy place, which is being like God. It is like throwing coals on their head and they just get angrier. Well, let God deal with them. But pray for them. And ask for God's mercy upon them because they need it. And they're about to explode. And they need mercy. What is is it the Proverbs? It says, a soft answer what? And I think that, and profanity does what? It's like throwing gasoline on the fire, right? It gets even worse. And we don't feel any better afterwards, not really. Because you can't fight fire with fire. You have to fight fire with water. And the water of life that pours out of us imperfectly at times. God have mercy on me, a sinner. When I remind myself of my sinfulness, I am reminding myself that I too am like this person. This person's a mirror, and I'm looking into them, and it's like, boy. And so we become, inadvertently, as we become holier, slowly, as we become more humble, we begin to influence people around us. And we may never see the fruit of that, but God will not let our prayers and intercessions be void. If we honestly pray for that person, He is working on them and in them. He who has love in Christ must observe the commandments of Messiah. For binding the binding power of love is of God, who is able to set forth the radiance of His beauty, who can voice it to satisfaction. The sublimity which love leads to is unutterable. Love unites us with God. Love covers a multitude of sin. Love endures everything. It's long-suffering to the last. There is nothing vulgar, nothing conceited in love. Love creates no schism. Love does not quarrel. Love preserves perfect harmony. In love, all the elect of God reach perfection. Apart from love, nothing is pleasing to God. In love, the Master took us to Himself because of love which He felt for us. Messiah, Yeshua, our Lord, gave His blood for us by the will of God, and His body for our bodies, and His soul for our souls. He is showing us the example, showing us the way of being like Him. And it is a day-by-day, moment-by-moment exercise. Do you like exercise? There's a few out there. It takes effort to do. But the more you exercise, the better you get. Now, because of our age or our eating habits, it may take longer to become fit. And likewise, our spiritual habits, it may take longer. But that's okay. Just the fact that we are trying to move forward in Him is, again, a sign that we are seeking Him.
Rabbi?
Yes, sir.
A lot of times people think that as you get stronger when you're physically exercising, that it gets easier. But it doesn't. Because as you gain strength, you still do more, which is just as difficult as when you were a weakling. So if we're looking to get advanced, and if we try to judge that by how easy it's getting, I think we might be using the wrong value for that. Because it's hard all the way through.
So if you start out by lifting 25 pounds, you keep lifting 25 pounds?
Until you can lift 30. But 30 then becomes just as hard as 25 was.
Yeah. And the whole purpose is not to get to the point where we're coasting. Because if we're coasting, we're not being challenged. And so you have to keep pushing yourself. As an athlete, you may be beyond being an athlete in the natural. But and I am called to be a spiritual athlete until we leave this earth. Training is hard, but you train how you want to fight. You prepare for that which you will encounter. If the army sat around and just hung out and ate tacos, you join them. Yeah. Who doesn't like tacos? If they never shot their guns, if they never trained, if they never went through all of the exercises, why do you think that they make you go through the tear gas chamber?
Yes.
Why? Because they want to see you cry?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. And they laugh at you. But why do you experience that?
It's preparing you when you're going to.
Okay, so when it happens, you're not, oh my gosh.
What do I do now?
You know what it feels like because you already went through it. Why do they subject you to crawling under logs in wet nastiness with barbed wire everywhere? Do they still do that?
Yes.
Okay. Why do they do that?
It's funny.
Because they like to. Because it's funny.
It's funny. For them, it's funny.
Yeah, it's not funny for
It's not funny for us.
But why? Why would they make you? I mean, why do they make you on marches with like?
Bird is good when you have to.
Okay.
Because when the time comes, you have to be able to do.
40-mile marches with full packs and all your gear on and schlepping on. Why?
You train for it.
So when it happens in battle, man, this is just normal. I'm so used to it. Now I can fight because I'm not worried about feeling lousy.
Roughly for every minute of combat, you had hours, if not weeks, of training to equate for every minute. Because you had, when somebody becomes a sniper, for example, they will shoot thousands of rounds in short periods of time, so that everything becomes what we refer to as muscle memory.
Okay.
It just becomes a natural reaction. You don't have to think about it. It's inherent. It's instinctive. And that's the whole purpose of training, is so that everything becomes inherent, instinctive. You do it without processing it. It's just what you do. And that's what God expects out of us, is that our lives become inherent, instinctive to do what He's called us to do.
And as we grow in Him, some things become easier. And we're amazed, perhaps at ourselves sometimes. When I have compassion for somebody, and I have somebody in mind right now, from a workplace of long past, when I think of them and I no longer am stung by the arrow that went into my heart, and I feel a compassion for them, that makes me happy, because they're no longer this leering ghost from the past, but they're perhaps a friend or a brother or sister in the future that I just haven't met yet again. That I hope for them the highest of good things. Doesn't mean I want to go out and have coffee with them necessarily, just to be honest, but I don't have that animosity and that liquid burning within me, and you know what I'm saying because you've experienced it.
I think it's Messiah's desire to heal our weak hearts, to fill those holes with love.
Yeah.
That's about the relationship that we have with Him. And when we grow in that, when His people attack, we put Him in the forefront, and it doesn't wound you anymore. People heal through Messiah.
It's a process. Do not expect too much from yourself, but neither be complacent. Do not expect things to change immediately. Keep pressing forward, returning to Him. God, have mercy on me, a sinner. It works. I've done it. I've been practicing it for a long time now. It works. It doesn't make everything hunky-dory. It doesn't make me go, gosh, I have trouble being fake. It's something that it really bothers me to be fake. And I'm not good at that. So to actually feel compassion for somebody, it becomes genuine. It may take years. But it's a process.
It helps me to hide His will in my heart, so that when I get in a situation, what's going on, I let it go. But then it pops into my mind. Forgive them, for they know not what they did.
Yeah.
These things just that you've hidden in your heart pop into your mind, and it takes physical procedure. I learned as a realtor to talk all the time, to use physical actions to keep from talking. And so when people that I know are going to make me want to
Be really human.
I do the fireman's thing. Stop, drop, and pray. Stop talking. Drop back in your own life and thank God that He loved you when you were like
that. Know, my brothers and sisters, that love has two characteristics, two gifts. One of them is to strengthen man in what is good, and the other is to weaken him in what is evil. I have a loaf of bread to eat, and you do not have. Love tells me, do not eat it alone. Give some to your brothers and sisters, and you can eat the rest. I have clothes. Love tells me, give one garment to your brother, and you wear the other one. I open my mouth to accuse you, to tell you lies, to deceive you. But at once I remember love, and it deadens my mouth and does not allow me to tell you lies. I stretch out my hands to take what belongs to you, your money and all of your possessions. But love does not allow me to take them. Do you see, my brothers and sisters, what gifts love has? And it's this reality. We can talk about training and use military terms and things, but we have to put into practice that which will make us stronger and help us to train better. Again, the highest of prayers is, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Why? Why would we say that? I mean, aren't they sinful too? Aren't they broken? Aren't they just festering with all of this? Yes.
Yeah, but we stand with the judgment seat for ourselves, not for them.
That's right.
And that's the thing, I guess, in the end, you can't say but,
Right.
or they made me, it's just one, so I guess that's why we're saying, God have mercy on me, a sinner, because I'm going to stand there in front of Him, give account of my role, and my actions and how I reacted.
And when we focus upon our sinfulness, God is wearing away a little bit of the rust on our hearts, a little bit at a time. Each uttered prayer of God have mercy on me, a sinner, another piece of rust is removed from the heart. And as we get to hopefully by the end of our lives, this mirror of our heart is so wiped clean that when God looks into that mirror of our hearts, He sees Himself. And He says, well done, my good and faithful servant, because you did what I asked. You obeyed me. And it was hard, and it was difficult, and you shed many tears. But because of your love, I've scooped up those tears. And now look, I give you diamonds and gold and a crown of righteousness that we will have forever. We suffer now for a greater purpose, and it's to become like God. And He is love. Love bestows prophecy. Love yields miracles. Love is an abyss of illumination. What's an abyss?
Big hole.
Okay, big hole. That's a good way of saying it. What else? An abyss is like a bottomless pit. Love is a bottomless pit of illumination, light, of aha moments. Did you have an aha moment this week? And I try to dig deep. I have an aha moment at least once a day. Sometimes just But an aha moment is what we're looking. Love is not ending. There is no end because it is an entity, a God, our God, who is ever flowing and he is boundless, he is endless. Love is an abyss of illumination. Love is a fountain of fire. In the measure that it wells up, inflames the thirsty soul. Love is the state of angels. Love is the progress of eternity. You think when we get to heaven, if before he returns, that we're done? Are we done and have we arrived and is, whew? Or are we going to grow forever? God is boundless. He is endless. He is perfect beyond all of our capacity to understand. But we don't stop, even there, even in that place. We become even more beautiful. I don't know. I mean, I try to use as many terms as I can find from the scriptures and from the fathers to describe the state of being, but we can't imagine the joy that it is to be in his presence in that place. Can you imagine being happy all the time? I can't imagine being happy all the time. Can you imagine not worrying about anything? And most of us will settle for 5 minutes of not worrying about something, right? Can you imagine having no wants or desires or needs? Because the presence is that which is filling us and is fulfilling us. And he gives us little tastes of that on this earth, little moments and times. But it is, again, part of this walk towards wholeness. So, as we press forward in this journey, let us move forward in the confidence. Let us reassure one another that you can make it, you can do this. That our Father has said, if you follow these paths, these ways, and walk it out your salvation, work out your salvation with fear and trembling, which is humility, which is relying upon him, but he doesn't do it all, just like he didn't, the same thing for Canaan. He didn't snap his fingers and everything was perfect. It was a path and it was a journey of obedience. And that's the journey that you and I are on in this time. So let us become, by his grace, worthy to be called his children, to be sons and daughters of light and life. And let's pray for those around us, that they too would be called the sons and daughters of light. No one is hopeless. There's no one that is beyond hope. If they're breathing, God has ways, and it is his prerogative that all should live. Amen? Amen. Abba, we thank you for the great gift of illumination, of being able to see clearly, Father, even though it may feel like through a glass darkly. Thank you for showing us that truly the highest of things that you are is love. Father, that love will not be achieved without humility. And where there is no humility, there is no love. So, Father, as we grapple with our lives, with our minds, our hearts, may we constantly turn to you, seek your peace, accept that which you give to us, Lord, as your love towards us to grow us. We thank you for this. We ask that you continue to grow these things in our hearts, that we may become true servants of the Most High God. Praise be unto you in both worlds, forever and ever.